So first, a quick set the stage. I started scuba diving in 1980 in freshwater springs in Florida. Very compelled by it. Became an explorer of springs and caves. And when I was a kid, the springs in Florida you could characterize them as some of the most pristine and constant freshwater ecosystems on the planet. By the time I finished my PhD in 1999, the scene was very different. By that time, and still today, the ecology of nearly every spring in Florida had become decimated due to eutrophication. So my friends and I that were divers would lament this, obviously, and ask the question, man, wouldn't it be great if we'd had taken pictures back when we were kids? Because one of the challenges that I continually face as a professional now is the lack of baseline information. So the very first thing that I have to do when I confront the problem, either scientifically or legally, is to try to compare it against a set of baselines for which none exist. So let me start this real quick. Sorry. In 2009, my friends and I started a nonprofit program that we called Project Baseline. And if you guys could start the video now, that's essentially what I'm here to tell you about, a combination of what we've been working on. Project Baseline is the conservation initiative of the nonprofit organization Global Underwater Explorers. Our mission is to draw attention to the alarming rate at which the world's underwater environments are declining, largely due to human actions, and establish baseline conditions in as many places as possible before they disappear. Our approach is a grassroots movement that focuses on getting as many people as possible personally invested in preserving our waters. We're empowering a global network of people to create a lasting visual legacy of underwater conditions in oceans, lakes, rivers, and springs all over the world, one picture and one video at a time. At present, we have more than 70 volunteer projects in 27 countries around the world, involving more than 275 divers. Our concept is fivefold. Leverage our global membership of about 10,000 divers, have them establish specific observation stations in the underwater environments that they dive in or that they explore, encourage them to revisit established stations to record changing conditions, share their data with the world using an online spatial database, and encourage our teams to get out and interact with the public and the scientists and the resource managers to help identify and promote local solutions. So we've created our, what I think of now as a rudimentary database using Esri's ArcGIS JavaScript API to store and share the data our divers are collecting. From the web portal, anyone can drill down and see where we're working, see for themselves what our divers are seeing underwater and how those environments are changing through time. We're currently monitoring 156 sites in both marine and freshwater environments. And our challenges are now to keep up with the data coming in from our teams, to adapt to the varied forms of data that they're collecting, and to evolve our interface into a tool that entices the public to learn more about those environments and that inspires them to get involved in the solutions. In 2014, we secured private funding to launch the Baseline Explorer, which is a modern and efficient offshore support vessel that supports a 24-person crew, two-person 300-meter observation submersibles, and the world's most capable volunteer technical diving team, as well as containerized scientific labs. Our vision is to leverage private sponsorship as matching funds to engage in government and academic projects that will synergistically advance Project Baseline and provide topical outreach opportunities. Baseline Explorer's mission is therefore to expand documentation and research in critical marine environments by facilitating collaborations between scientists, storytellers, and volunteer divers from our global Project Baseline network. To get these people underwater and see and record what's there and what's happening in a way that will inspire the public to act. Baseline Explorer platform began with a transatlantic trip from the Bahamas to Florida, the Azores, Portugal, France, and Italy. We conducting diving operations with combining technical divers and submersibles to survey unexplored mesophotic environments. At each location, we teamed with local universities, government entities, and conservation groups to document unique but threatened environments critical to the respective nations. On returning to the US, our collaborations, we focused on collaborations with the Harbor Branch Oceanographic Institute and Nova Southeastern University, both in Florida, to survey shallow mesophotic coral reefs. In our first 2 years, we carried 11 researchers underwater to survey the reefs, performed tens of detailed video and photographic transects with our dive teams, collected hundreds of specimens for our research partners, including a new species of coral, and exposed a multitude of people, divers and non-divers alike, to the possibilities for positive change when people work together. This summer, we worked with a group called the Nekton Foundation, who brought scientists from several universities, including Oxford and Stanford, together with storytellers from numerous newspaper, TV, and magazine outlets, as well as policymakers from the United Nations, aboard the Baseline Explorer to survey deep and shallow reefs surrounding Bermuda. We conducted 32 dives with volunteer divers to perform video surveys at depths between 90 and 15 meters, and 77 submersible dives to perform similar surveys at depths between 300 and 150 meters. All totaled, we surveyed more than 22 kilometers of underwater Bermuda, put 58 people in the water to see environments that they would otherwise never see, and I'm told now that we've discovered more than 300 new species of marine life in the process. Later this summer, we had the opportunity to work with NOAA at the Monitor National Marine Sanctuary, where we carried researchers down to 240 meters and sent divers to 90 meters off the coast of North Carolina to survey a U-boat and 2 ships that were sunk during the Battle of the Atlantic in 1942 that hadn't been seen since. Moving forward, our hope is to expand the work we've done with NOAA into more of our national marine sanctuaries, not only to document what's there so that we can better protect them, but also to do that in a manner that will engage the public and demonstrate why it's so important to maintain these protected areas. So as I start to close up, I like to think of all, as a scientist professional, I've been using GIS for a long time, and I think about all that we've been able to accomplish using GIS in the terrestrial environment. And I believe that that's been largely possible because of something most of us take for granted, and that's the ability to see this part of the world with our own eyes. Our organization has trained now over 10,000 active divers around the world. Think about where we'll be when we can combine what they see and take for granted with these fantastic GIS tools. I'll leave you with our core premise, which I think might be obvious from the presentation, which is that science alone will not solve the ocean's problems. And I think of a quote from one of the members of the panel at the NOAA's Ocean Exploration Forum last year. And after spending the whole conference focused on the great contributions of automated data collection, they continue to lament the ever-decreasing budgets and how the public just progressively doesn't get behind the research. And that what was really needed is a charismatic figure to speak on behalf of the oceans. But if we don't put people in the water, where are we going to get that charismatic figure? Where are we going to get the budgets we need to do this fantastic work with automation? We get it by having people involved. So that's our core premise, is to get people involved. Thank you for your attention and for this opportunity to share our work and goals.